Carter Page?
It is our responsibility, and I think my responsibility, to ensure that the FISA process is carried out professionally, properly, lawfully, and with integrity. I intend to do that. We are working on that now. Our Office of Inspector General has almost 500 employees, investigators, and prosecutors, and they're going to work on this and get to the bottom of it.
But could we see, I mean, because there's so much lying about this, from partisan lying, maybe from both sides, I know from one, about why the court granted the government the right to spy on this American citizen. Wouldn't it just dispel all the myths and the conspiracies if we could see, redacted of course, but if we could see the basis for it?
Well, we've never produced publicly the FISA warrants, but I have to tell you, Tucker, we've produced more documents, in this case more information to the Congress and to the public than I think any Attorney General's office in history has. We're going to go as far as we can go to make things public, and we're going to ensure.
So you don't think we need a special prosecutor to look into this?
Well, we're going to get to the bottom of it. It could be one day that a special prosecutor would be required, but we're going to look at this both with attorneys and within the Inspector General's office, and they will get to the bottom.
So you're giving a speech tomorrow essentially about the rule of law, I think. I read a copy of it, to the Federalist Society, and it raised a question in my mind about judges. Shouldn't the Congress act as a counterbalance against judicial overreach? If there's a judge who is clearly not even consulting the Constitution and making law, why wouldn't the Congress try to balance that out?
You know, it's gotten to the point where Congress, I think, has been too willing to cede its powers. I felt that when I was a member of the Congress. I feel it even more so now as the Attorney General. When I'm finding single judges, 1 out of 600, issue an executive order, an injunction, a court injunction against executive orders of the executive branch of the United States without a foundation for that. You could have 10 other judges who oppose it, but the one who enjoins it, their opinion is upheld. It may take 18 months to get the matter to the Supreme Court. It is disrupting the ability of this government to function, and I'm really concerned about it. It's time for the nation to reconsider these injunctions.
Yeah, I mean, that's not democracy. That's a monarchy or something. Mr. Attorney General, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. Raul Reyes is an attorney and a columnist. He joins us tonight. Raul, thanks for coming on. So we normally speak in airy generalizations. Let's talk specifics quickly about what's going on in Denver right now.
Sure.
An illegal alien has been charged with vehicular homicide. The feds say he's broken federal immigration law. We want to take custody of him. And for ideological reasons, the city is saying, no, if he posts 25 grand bail, he's going to walk free. Hard to see how anybody could support something like that. Why wouldn't we deport someone who's been credibly accused of murder?
Well, right, exactly. He should be once he's tried and convicted. But the problem here is that ICE did not issue a warrant for this individual. What they did was they issued a detainer. And ICE in Colorado, they issued, per their statement, they issue between 35,000 and 40,000 detainers a day. They say they don't have the time to go through the paperwork to fill out the additional request that is involved with a warrant. And because they did not do that, this individual was allowed to be released from custody. That's the problem.
Okay,
and that makes the case, in a sense, for having immigration priorities.
Oh, okay. So I guess if someone's accused of homicide, that would put him right at the top of the priority list. And yet ideologues like the people in charge in Denver are basically saying his rights are more important than those of American citizens who live in Denver, who are going to be exposed to this guy when he walks out of jail after posting $25,000 bail.
No, I think
so where are their rights? Who's looking out for their rights?
I think our Constitution is looking out for their rights. And the fact is that all people, including the undocumented, do have certain rights under our Constitution. The reason that the law enforcement authorities in Denver did not detain this individual because there are court rulings in the Supreme Court and the lower courts, most specifically, I think recently, the Mendoza case, that says these local jurisdictions will be at risk of liability for double jeopardy
you know
if
what?
they hold someone for a second time.
So let me just say, so are you actually
honor warrants? They do not honor detainers.
You know, that's it's as we both know, and I just want our audience to know that what you're saying is disingenuous. It has nothing to do with their fealty to Supreme Court decisions. Those are a joke to the left, as you know. Are you actually arguing that the federal government has no right to take someone into custody when they know for a fact that he is breaking federal immigration law? He's not supposed to be here. He's an illegal alien, and they don't have a right to detain him? Is that what you're saying?
The federal government has the right to take people into custody provided they follow the proper procedure prescribed by the statute. And the statute in this instance requires that they fill out the forms for a warrant, which should be either issued by a judge or a criminal warrant, which can be sworn out. They did not do that. They only issued the detainer, and that's why he was released.
Yeah. This has been, you're wrong, let me just say that. This has been going on for a long time in precisely the way that I described has now been thwarted by politically ambitious politicians who want votes, as you know. But let me just step three steps back and ask you. But this policy is actually based on court rulings, not ideology of politicians. It's based on court rulings that these local law enforcement officials are following because they don't want the financial liability. Does it bother you that a guy credibly accused of homicide is going to walk out when he shouldn't have been here in the first place?
Sure.
Okay.
But I also trust that local law enforcement, that they are following the processes prescribed by law. In this case, the Denver police, and they do not want to face lawsuits from these different individuals.
Okay, so how about doing the right thing?
So advocacy groups, and most importantly, they don't want to be sued by other authorities for not complying with federal law.
So let me say this. Why wouldn't the Denver Sheriff's Department call ICE and say, by the way, he's getting out now, he's walking out the front door, grab him, which they're allowed to do?
They are allowed to do that, but they do not do it because ICE did not issue a warrant.
No, they don't need to. Hold on, slow down. ICE does not. Oh, slow down. That's not true. No, there's no difference. ICE does not need a warrant to pick that guy up off the street. Sorry, you're wrong. So why wouldn't the Denver...
We're talking about two separate different things. You are correct. ICE does not need a warrant to pick someone else. They do not.
I know I'm correct. So that's why I'm asking you a very simple question.
When they're getting the local law enforcement to hold someone beyond the prescribed term. In this case, that's the exact circumstances.
Let me just ask one last question, and then I'll let you go. If you really cared about the safety of American citizens in Denver, which the left demonstrably doesn't care about, but let's say you just did for the sake of argument. Let's say you were continuing to pretend you cared. Why wouldn't you, if you're the Denver Sheriff's Office, the second, call them and say, this guy's leaving at this hour, be waiting for him? Why wouldn't they do that? What's the answer? They're not going to get sued for that.
Because as ICE itself has said, they are issuing on a daily basis, a weekly basis, between 35 and 40,000 of these detainers.
I'm not talking about 35. I'm talking about this guy, the guy charged with homicide. Why wouldn't they do it in this specific case? Will Denver do that? Why wouldn't they?
The reason they did not was because, again, ICE did not make him a priority by failing to get the warrant for him. Because they did not get the warrant, the local law enforcement did not take it seriously. The local law enforcement does need a warrant in order to hold him.
You know what they need?
That's based on the Mendoza case and multiple local legal
I just explained how they could do it. They're not doing it because they don't care. That's the truth, and you know it. Raul, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
We've got a Fox News alert for you. A hostage situation taking place at the nation's largest veterans home. Shots were fired this morning at the home in Yountville, California. 3 hostages were taken. Police have locked down the facility. They're attempting to negotiate at this hour with the attacker. He's reportedly armed with a rifle and contained to a single room. So far, we don't know anything about the motive or the identity of the suspect. Obviously, we'll follow this story as it continues to evolve and bring you details. President Trump headed for an unexpected summit with the leader of North Korea. Make that the dear leader. Many in the press are reacting with consternation. Does this deserve more credit than it's getting, this story? And are the people criticizing it the same geniuses who made mistake after mistake after mistake and never admitted it? Interesting question. We'll get to it coming up.
Tucker Carlson is brought to you by Voya Financial, helping you to and through retirement.
Hey, what are you guys doing here?
We're Voya. We stay with you to and through retirement.
So you'll still be here to help me make smart choices?
Well, with your finances, that is. We had nothing to do with that tie.
Voya, helping you to
and through
retirement.
Before discovering Nexium 24-Hour to treat her frequent heartburn, Lucy could only imagine enjoying a slice of pizza. Now, it's as easy as pie. Nexium 24-Hour stops acid before it starts for all-day, all-night protection. Can you imagine 24 hours without heartburn?
That cable box to watch TV? Nope. Don't we need a run? Nope. It just explodes in a high-pitched
Try DirecTV Now for $10 a month for 3 months. No satellite needed. I lost 50 pounds on Jenny Craig, and you can too.
Introducing Rapid Results by Jenny Craig. Lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks. Pasta, pizza, burgers. You get to eat really good food 6 times a day, and you don't even have to cook. The program includes a personal weight loss expert who understands men. None of that group meeting stuff.
This is the best program for a busy guy.
Now lose 16 pounds for $16 plus the cost of food, and get $100 in free food. Hurry, this offer won't last long.
Each year, Sarah climbs 58,070 steps. That's the height of Mount Everest. Because each day she chooses to take the stairs, at work, at home, even on the escalator. That can be hard on her lower body. So now she does it with Dr. Scholl's orthotics, clinically proven to relieve and prevent foot, knee, or lower back pain by reducing the shock and stress that travel up her body with every step she takes. So keep on climbing, Sarah. You're killing it. Dr. Scholl's, born to move.
Tucker Carlson is brought to you by Dr. Scholl's Pain Relieving Orthotics. Fox News Channel Sirius XM, your favorite shows on Channel 114. Plus, every story, every 15 minutes. Fox News headlines 24/7, Channel 115.
Cooking for a crowd has never phased us. It's what we love to do. That's why we started our catering business. But finding the right internet and phone provider, we just wanted services we could count on that didn't break the bank. Then we heard about Spectrum Business. Best services, best price, and no contracts. We called them and we were up and running in no time. It was so easy.
Make the right choice for your business. Get reliable internet and voice for less and no contracts from Spectrum Business.
Score big during the Markdown Mania sales event at Cronin Toyota. Come shop from Indiana's largest indoor showroom where new 2018 Yaris IAs are only $199 per month. This is not a lease. You own it. Plus, we want your trade, even if you owe $6, $8, even $10,000 more than it's worth. And if you have a job bringing home $350 per week, we want to approve your credit. I'm Eric Horn, General Manager. If you're not 100% satisfied, please don't leave until you see me.
Well, in a pretty unexpected twist, the president's decision to ridicule the leader of North Korea as Little Rocket Man turns out to be kind of working out. North Korea has proposed a face-to-face meeting between the two leaders. If it happens, it'll be the first ever summit between a sitting American president and a dictator from North Korea. In response, a lot of our foreign policy geniuses melted down.
I think, frankly, it's a dangerous gamble and a bad idea. And in some ways, I can't believe I'm saying that because for years I've been arguing that we need to have direct talks between the U.S. and North Korea.
I'm in the more of the you must be kidding camp. We've just given Kim Jong-un something for nothing.
It was a breathtaking gamble, according to one report. Do you agree?
I do. It is a roll of the nuclear dice.
Philippe Reines is a former advisor to Hillary Clinton, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State, and he joins us tonight. Philippe, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you for having me.
So I'll just be totally honest, because why not? I have no idea what this will lead to. If anything, you could see it going wrong. You could see it taking unexpected and positive directions. Like, who knows? What I know for certain is that almost everybody you just saw on TV is dumb, has a long track record of
One of them was
decisions.
my best friend, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure, but every one of those people has advocated foreign policy positions that have been a disaster for the United States repeatedly, and they're never called to account. So I guess the fact that this was unexpected yesterday shouldn't have surprised us. Why are we still listening to these people?
Well, I think it was surprising everybody, and I think President Trump definitely has an I told you so in him, but I think he has a fair number of people who work for him to say I told you so too. I don't think Secretary of Defense Mattis or Secretary of State Tillerson saw this coming.
I think you're right.
Or thought that the language last year, the tweets, were a good thing. So what he did instinctively on his own, to the extent that the establishment got it wrong, if they got it wrong, we'll see, but it's not partisan. I mean, people just...
I totally agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
And I happen to... I've always thought, when I worked for the Obama administration, I hated the way we handled North Korea. I hated the way Bush did. It was always treating them like they deserved to be treated as an equal. I thought we should just ignore them. You know?
Right.
I at one point wanted to say, you can't launch a rocket that doesn't reach, the outer atmosphere. We're not going to talk about you. But President Trump, he inherited something a little different. He inherited North Korea at a time when they've been harder to ignore. They have clearly made technological advances, both in their missiles and their bomb stuff. And he, 6 months ago, I would have told you that if we weren't alive in a year, North Korea would have something to do with it, and President Trump's bellicose language.
Well, a lot of people felt that way, and to be fair, and I just want to be honest, you're right. A lot of people at his own State Department, the President's own State Department, would have agreed with you after 2 drinks in private, for sure. So maybe the lesson of all of this is that you don't necessarily need to insult foreign leaders, even evil ones, but maybe you need to think a little more broadly. What we've been doing isn't working, and nobody in Washington is willing to acknowledge that because they're implicated in past bad decisions. Well, so shouldn't we go forward with a maybe more open mind?
We should, and frankly, I don't know anyone was surprised that he agreed to a meeting and agreed to it fast. I mean, to the extent that our diplomacy is slow and plodding and doesn't work, might as well blow it up. We could be sitting here in 6 months and having a conversation about how this was an absolute debacle. And, you spent a lot of time focusing on immigration, and there have been times in the last months where you have not liked what the president said on immigration. True. That the Republican Party has not liked what they hear from him, including on TV. Yeah. And this is going to be pretty similar. I mean, not that it'll be on TV. It'll be
right here on this show, and that is that the commanding officer and some of the first responders focused on blocking traffic and setting up a perimeter instead of rushing in to kill the shooter, which is what they're trained to do. One ranking officer tells Fox News tonight that the responders that day should have said, you take the first floor, I'll take the second, you take the third, and we won't stop until we kill the shooter. In a portion of the audio you are about to hear, a male voice believed to be the disgraced school resource officer identifies what school building he thinks the shots are coming from and then commands officers to stay away from that building. Noteworthy that this goes against his initial statement that he didn't go in the school because he didn't know where the shots were coming from. You're also going to hear a female voice of the commanding officer. Her two audible commands about a perimeter, not killing the shooter. And the sheriff's office has defended itself, explaining that the alleged bad commands happened after the shooter stopped firing. But as you're about to hear, it seems officers did not know where the shooter was for a long time after the officers prioritized the traffic, with one officer even saying that there might be more bullets coming from a window. Here's some of the audio recordings.
Come down east on Holmberg. We need somebody to shut down Holmberg. Do not approach the 12 or 1,300 buildings. Stay at least 500 feet away at this point.
I know there's a lot going on. Do we have the perimeter set up right now and everybody clearing out of the school? I want to make sure that we have a perimeter set up and the school's in. All the kids are getting out. So we need to shut down around the school.
Is he still shooting?
54. We're trying to locate. We don't know where he's at. We got gunshot holes either coming into or out of that building on the west side, 3rd floor.
One ranking law enforcement officer that just listened to the audio we did sent a response to Fox News, writing in part, wow, I just listened to the first 10 minutes of the dispatch tapes. It was very difficult to listen to. We failed in many ways. I don't know if I'll be able to sleep tonight. Also, here is one parent who tonight tells Fox News the entire community of Parkland parents are irate.
Lives were being lost while the deputies who were on site were more concerned about closing off roadways than they were about going into the building and stopping the shooter and saving lives.
Today, Florida's Republican Governor Rick Scott approved new legislation that would require anyone purchasing a gun in the state to be 21 years old, and the NRA immediately filed a lawsuit. Tucker.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it. Jeff Brano is the president of the Broward County Police Benevolent Association, and he joins us tonight. Jeff, thanks a lot for coming on. You heard Matt Finn read the email he received from an officer, you probably know the person, saying he was in effect heartbroken to hear that tape. What was your reaction to it?
Well, I listened to the tapes, and I'm also in receipt of a chronology of events that came out from the Broward Sheriff's Office with 4 different sources: the video, Coral Springs Fire, Coral Springs Police, and BSO Dispatch.
How did this happen? I don't understand how authorities with firearms on the scene never entered the building while people were being murdered. Do you?
No, I can't explain that.
Can you guess as to what might have happened? Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, I haven't, and I just don't understand where the one video has the school resource deputy at the administration building, then heading towards Building 12, and then taking up a position outside of Building 12. That's on the chronology of events, and it's also on the video.
But it seems like at least some of these guys knew that there was shooting inside the building. So, you know, you don't want to impugn people's motives, but other than cowardice, what would be the explanation for that?
Well, I don't have an explanation for that person not going in. However, I could tell you that the Coral Springs Police Department, they were getting all the 911 calls were going to Coral Springs Fire. So if you're in the city of Parkland and you dial 911, it goes to Coral Springs Fire Dispatch because they provide fire services and emergency services for the city of Parkland. So all the live intel was going to the Coral Springs police officers. And the chronology that I have shows that Coral Springs and Broward Sheriff's officers simultaneously entered the structure and started to clear it.
Do you think it's a little weird that the sheriff of Broward County, now that we know that his department failed, is telling me that I need to surrender my gun rights? That's the lesson?
I'm sorry. I'll say that again. I'm sorry.
Why isn't the sheriff of Broward County being held accountable for this?
I can't answer that. I would say that, you know, the buck stops at the top, but I can't answer for the sheriff.
Yeah, well, I hope he is. Thank you very much for joining us.
Speech and sexist thought is hateful speech and hateful thought, and people with those hateful thoughts go on to commit hateful crimes. So yeah, why don't we nip it in the bud and stop these guys from continuing to go further and committing violent crimes?
Okay, so we're going to create a new class of thought crime. But you said guys. Would it ever conceivably apply to women? I was watching The Bachelor the other night, which is obviously an hour-long exploitation of women. I think of a more sexist spectacle than that. And a lot of the producers are women, so would they be up for sexism charges in your world?
Absolutely not. You know that women as a minority in this country, even though we are the majority, we're still the minority because white men are in charge. And it's hard to be a sexist and put the majority down when you're still considered the minority. So no, women cannot be sexist. We are the victims of sexism.
But what if you were like Anna Wintour? Okay, and you had a magazine wholly devoted to exploiting women's bodies and basically encouraging eating disorders. Because you're a woman, you still would not be sexist?
Well, that's an industry that makes a living off of those things. And believe it or not, the highest paid women in the world are models. So unfortunately, the only way that women can make more money than men are through modeling and through these magazines. So she actually did a favor to women by showing them in these magazines and helping women make more than men. So sadly.
Interesting. Okay.
Sadly.
So sexist speech and sexist thought will be criminalized.
Yeah, because it's hateful.
In the Republic of Kathy Aru. What would the punishment be? Would these be misdemeanors or felonies?
Well, I mean, I think these men would move on to commit crimes. So should we nip it in the bud? Should we listen to people when they're saying hateful things and get them right when they're saying these sexist comments? And make it a felony. Put them away, make them learn their lesson. And when they come out, they'll be better people. So teach them a lesson.
Maybe they would come out as sad and broken people. Would that bother you?
I don't think they'd be, well, if they're not hurtful and violent, it would not upset me if they're sad. No. I mean, they're sad, but they're not aggressive and violent. So be it. Yeah.
How would, since sexist thought would be illegal, how would we determine?
Sexist language, not thought, language.
Okay. Can we define sexist? So, like, for example, is it
hurtful to women?
Hurtful to women, right? But all women don't have the same standard for what's hurtful. So, for example, is it sexist to open a door for a woman, or is it sexist not to open a door for a woman?
I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think if a woman is offended, then yeah, it might be the wrong thing to do. So sexism, it's hard to tell, but women who are aware of it, feel it, understand it, and yeah, sexism is alive and well. And those of us who realize it want an end to it. We want to be treated equally.
Right.
So, yeah, we have to teach these people that that is wrong. And this person in Belgium did call this police officer better suited for another job because this was a woman. It was a police officer, and that was sexist. The things he said were awful, and he should be put away.
Speaking of, well, it sounds like he's being punished.
Yeah,
Finally, I mean, so if we're creating a whole new class of crime, obviously we're repealing the First Amendment and 250 years of tradition in order to do it. But
well,
whatever.
It's Belgium. It's not their amendment.
No, but I'm just saying if it were here, but you know, to make an omelet, you break some eggs. So, but we'd also need to hire a whole new class of law enforcement, obviously, to enforce these laws, kind of like the Saudis do. What would that be like? Where would there be speech police in public places? Could they come into your home? Like, how would you do this?
Well, this country already has it. There are profanity laws. So this country's had laws that are about 100 years old. They're according to municipalities and according to different states. You can't say bad words in public within an officer or a children's earshot. So we already have those kind of laws in this country. So why not reintroduce the profanity laws with sexism laws and move on from words that offend to actions and concepts that offend and that are violent?
What's going to happen to rap music?
Rap music? Well, I think teenagers are going to continue to enjoy it, and parents are going to continue to hate it, and hopefully the rap stars will learn to rap about nicer things and not teach such hatred.
Yeah, they better. They're going to be in Kathy Aroo prison. So of course we're rooting for them. Kathy, thank you very much. Good to see you.
No problem. Thanks.
Well, we had big news last night in a blew-out final exam, but fear not. The quiz returns after this ended. Joining us tonight, Fox chief national correspondent Ed Henry. He won the battle of defending champions last week against Bret Baier. Quite a contest. He gets to return for another matchup. His challenger this week, Fox Washington correspondent, our old friend Jillian Turner. Okay, so you both know the rules, but for the sake of consistency and because judges demand it, here they are. Hands on buzzers. I ask the questions. First one to buzz in gets to answer. You have to wait until I finish asking the question in order to do that. Every correct answer is worth a point. If you get it wrong, we deduct a point from your total. Best of 5 wins. Clear?
Mm-hmm. It's International Women's Day.
These are the international rules, too.
I just thought that you might want to mention that.
Absolutely. And that does not give you an advantage.
Yeah, what?
Okay, here's the first question. After winning the Academy Award for Best Actress on Sunday night, Frances McDormand had something unusual happen to her Oscar. What was it? Ed Henry.
Some guy stole it.
I don't believe that. Some guy stole it. Making this up. Roll tape. Did quote some guy steal it?
This morning, Terry Bryant isn't celebrating.
Thank you.
Instead, charged with grand theft larceny after allegedly swiping the Best Actress Oscar from winner Frances McDormand.
And what's the long-term plan when you steal an Oscar? Do you hope your friends didn't notice you didn't win Best Actress?
You can't boast that you
Some guy stole it. Indeed, you were right.
I don't know what his job was, but he was backstage or something. It wasn't Warren Beatty.
It's worth about $8 at the local
I'm mad I
pawn shop.
didn't get that because I watched the Oscars.
I didn't watch the Oscars.
For the first time in years.
But you didn't watch the larceny backstage.
No.
The larceny didn't happen in real time. Anyway.
Exactly. Question 2. One of the world's most popular sodas announced this week they'll soon be selling their first ever alcoholic drink. What company is it? Soda maker selling booze. Care to guess?
Can you give us a hint?
That's the judges have a hint, but I think it's too. Okay, I'll give it. Based in Atlanta. Ed Henry.
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, he says. Is it Coca-Cola or could it be 7-Up?
Something's brewing. Coca-Cola launches a new alcoholic drink in Japan. Its very first attempt at breaking into the booze business in more than 130 years.
This is going to be controversial.
And of course, the trick was in Japan.
Right, but I didn't say that. But I worked.
No, you didn't. But you got Coca-Cola. All right.
Yeah, because I asked for a hint.
You both got a hint, to be fair, though. By the way, let me just say, I am rooting for you. I've never admitted that. Okay. Don't blame me. Question 3. At Saturday's Gridiron Dinner, at which Bret Baier, by the way, played a starring role, the president roasted Washington elite. He zeroed in on one congresswoman for her claim that we can secure our southern border by mowing the grass there. What member of Congress did he target? Ed Henry.
Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy? No. So you're saying that Nancy Pelosi claimed we could tighten our borders by mowing the grass?
Not at the Gridiron, but I did a story on this for Shannon.
Okay, we'll see if your memory serves.
We all have a responsibility to protect our borders.
Should there be fencing? Should there be technology? Should they mow the grass so that people can't hide in it?
Wow, she really said that.
Yeah.
And we have the tape.
Right.
Okay, you can still turn it around, by the way, Jillian. Yes, you can.
I just can't answer anymore because I'll lose points if I lose.
Okay, well, you'll see if you can get this one. Question 4. A zoo in Indonesia is being criticized by animal rights activists. A video emerged this week showing an orangutan at the zoo doing something only adult humans typically do. What was it?
Hint.
Hint. Are you ready?
Yes.
Hint, the Surgeon General disapproves. Jillian Turner.
Smoking?
He was smoking.
Yes. You knew that.
Roll
You
tape.
just gave that to me.
An orangutan is caught smoking a cigarette at a zoo. Just look, you can see Odin puffing away like an experienced smoker. He knows what to do. It's crazy. A visitor threw the lit cigarette at the primate's enclosure in Indonesia. Officials say he likely learned how to smoke from watching humans. Isn't that crazy?
But who gave him the cigarette?
I don't know, but they're hassling him. He has to stand outside the building when he smokes now. People look down on him. I mean, really? Anyway, final question. If you drive by McDonald's today, there's a chance you might see the famed golden arches turned upside down to form a W. Who is the fast food chain honoring? Jillian Turner.
Women.
You don't think it's George W. Bush?
It might be.
But you say women.
But I'm going with women.
Going with women. Is it women?
Today is International Women's Day, and there it is on your screen. McDonald's has flipped the arches. They've turned the M upside down. It's a W for women.
As a woman, did you eat a Big Mac today?
I did not.
You did not.
But I was touched.
You were touched. Wow. You know what? This is one of those games that had it going on one more round, it might have been a little different. Jillian Turner,
you mean if it wasn't rigged?
You were great. You were great.
I studied.
Oh, all the answers are in there.
I found this.
You're the only person with that book, by the way.
There is an inscription to Ed, 9/11/2003.
Not really.
A reporter I'd never want on my tail. Best, Tucker Carlson.
Is that true? Ed Henry and I have known each other a long time. That's my handwriting. That's unbelievable.
Found it this week. New book coming out soon.
15 years ago. Ed Henry, by the way, speaking of journalism, we're going to give you the coveted Eric Wemple mug that shows our friend Eric Wemple from the Washington Post in his one appearance on our show, and then, of course, our triumphant response.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Use it with Jillian.
The headline. Trump lawyers seek deal with Mueller to speed end of Russia probe. Now, White House sources are pushing back on some aspects of the story, but here is what we are being told at this hour. Negotiations are underway on how the president will be questioned by the special counsel, Robert Mueller, and they are close to now determining what is going to happen. My interpretation of all of this, it means this witch hunt could finally be wrapping up, because the president would be the last person that Mueller would want to talk to. And by the way, to me, that means that a conclusion is probably coming soon, and that would mean, yeah, Donald Trump did not collude with the Russians. A big development we're following closely tonight. And also more breaking news on a bombshell development that we broke on this program last night. Sarah Carter will join us. She has new information about the Uranium One informant that is said to have proof of a Clinton Foundation quid pro quo. Now, Victoria Tunsing, who will also join us, the lawyer for the informant, is revealing that her client, William Campbell, was interviewed in December of last year by the FBI in Arkansas as part of an ongoing investigation into the Clinton Foundation. Ongoing. Now, because the information this informant has, Democrats preemptively in the media, they're now trying to discredit this informant who has spent decades of his life serving his country. You have congressional Democrats releasing a memo yesterday to the Hill trashing this informant, William Campbell's credibility. Now, these smears were then picked up on and published by liberal outlets like the Washington Post, predictably CNN, Fake News, Reuters, and Yahoo. Now, here's the one thing that none of those organizations ever reached out to Victoria Tunsing for a comment. Now, we're going to give her a chance to defend her client completely against an untrue smear. What this is a partisan left-wing attack just designed to protect Hillary Clinton, her foundation, and what they did. It never made sense to give 20% of our uranium to Russia. And the left in this country, they know this FBI informant. He was in Putin's network. He has damaging information on the Clintons that potentially could send them to jail. So they're lashing out. Now, Victoria Tunsing, Sarah Carter will have the details. That's coming up tonight. Now, we also have new information on another major breaking news story. Special Counsel Jeff Sessions, he's continuing to suggest that he is strongly now considering doing what we have been saying for a long time needed to be done. That would be appointing a second special counsel to investigate rampant FISA abuses and abuse within the FBI and the DOJ. Here's what we know. The FBI lied to the FISA court by using an unverified dossier bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton to get a warrant to spy on an associate of the Trump campaign during an election. The FBI broke the FISA law, and they also did not follow the Bureau's own protocols by relying heavily on what was something that they themselves should have verified and corroborated. Now, remember, former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe, he's testified without the dossier, they wouldn't have even had a FISA application. A huge development, major scandal. I know the media ignores it. They'll have egg on their face. And another breaking story tonight, President Trump finally has issued a pardon for Christian Saucier. This is an issue we've talked about for a long time. You might remember our extensive coverage of this case. Now, Saucier is a former U.S. Navy sailor. He was convicted of a felony and in prison for a year for, quote, mishandling classified information. He took a few photos where he worked inside a submarine, 40-year-old submarine, that were discovered on Saucier's discarded cell phone. He didn't give it to anybody. Now, this became a huge issue on the 2016 campaign trail, highlighting a major disparity in our criminal justice system. Remember, Hillary Clinton mishandled an enormous amount of top-secret, special access, classified information on that unauthorized private server. And then she deleted 33,000 subpoenaed emails. And she received no punishment because James Comey, Peter Strzok and company, well, the fix was in and they rigged the outcome. Now, meanwhile, Saucier did a fraction of what Clinton did. He was sent to prison for a year. And thankfully, President Trump today, and rightly today, he corrected this injustice, and Christian Saucier can now move on with his life. Now, even more breaking information to tell you about. Fox News reporting the House Intel Committee, they're sending 10 key questions about the dossier to 2 more Obama administration officials. One of them, who worked as a key advisor for Barack Obama and Joe Biden, is actually married to a senior Fusion GPS employee. Now, this is drawing comparisons to demoted DOJ official Bruce Orr and his wife Nellie, who worked on that fake news dossier for Fusion GPS. Now, the other official served as a former national security advisor to Biden, so this scandal is getting bigger and bigger by the day. Now, the House Intel Committee Chairman Devin Nunes revealed earlier this week that he has received some responses about the dossier from some top Obama officials. Others, so far, refusing to comply. So Nunes is now threatening to issue subpoenas, which he should do. And finally, President Trump's major win with North Korea is sending the media into a hate-filled frenzy. The partisan press is absolutely going apoplectic over the fact that President Trump's peace-through-strength approach with dealing with little rocket man Kim Jong-un is now yielding positive results. We may have peace in the Korean peninsula. Now, this breaking news that the president is agreeing to meet with the North Korean dictator to discuss denuclearization is now apparently aggravating and incensing liberal lapdog media people as they're physically and mentally incapable of reporting any positive news about this president. Watch this.
It is a roll of the nuclear dice. In some ways, the president kind of got boxed in here. He couldn't say no to this invitation.
I think the entire foreign policy community and a good deal of the informed public freaked out last night when they thought Trump was actually going to get in a room with this guy with no conditions and start talking.
We've just given Kim Jong-un something for nothing.
I'm very concerned about what this administration would be willing to barter away.
Why hasn't any other president ever done? Should I take that to mean that this might be a particularly risky or even an unwise move? But this is the president we have, and he said yes to North Korea.
Yeah, but he's not sending $150 billion in cash and other currencies, and he's not giving billions of dollars to the North Koreans. He gave nothing. But the destroyed Trump media, they love the policies of appeasement of Barack Obama and President Clinton, both of which have failed. At this point, it wouldn't be surprising if the media literally awarded Neville Chamberlain, a Profile and Courage Award for capitulating in his negotiations with Adolf Hitler in Munich. Like we have been saying, the media cannot stomach a leader that believes in peace through strength and stands up to dictators. All they want a president to grovel and cower and kiss Kim Jong-un's rings. President Trump is proving he won't do that, and as a result, he's winning. He got every condition he needed, and a discussion, well, about denuclearization would be good for the world. He's not going to repeat the absolutely idiotic and completely foolish mistakes of both Clinton and Barack Obama. Now, back in the 90s, Bill Clinton came up with a brilliant idea. Oh, let's try and bribe Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, with billions of dollars in energy subsidies with the hopes that the North Koreans would abandon their nuclear program. President Clinton actually took a victory lap on national TV, patting himself on the back for brokering a great deal for the American people. He was wrong. Look.
This is a good deal for the United States. North Korea will freeze and then dismantle its nuclear program. South Korea and our other allies will be better protected. The entire world will be safer as we slow the spread of nuclear weapons.
Now, Bill Clinton's massive foreign policy blunder set the stage for North Korea to actually develop nuclear weapons, billions wasted, and he is directly responsible for the current situation we face today. Then, of course, there's President Appeasement himself, Barack Obama. He tried to outdo both Neville Chamberlain and Bill Clinton with a timid, feckless policy of appeasement towards Iran and the radical mullahs that are calling for death to America. The same people promising to wipe America and Israel off the map, who burn American and Israeli flags. In other words, they hate our guts. That didn't stop Obama from orchestrating one of the worst deals ever in the history of mankind. Now, the appeaser-in-chief, he gave Iran $150 billion while still allowing them to spin their centrifuges. Here's Obama surrendering to the radical mullahs, in case you're interested.
Today, after 2 years of negotiations, the United States, together with our international partners, has achieved something that decades of animosity has not. A comprehensive long-term deal with Iran that will prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon. This deal demonstrates that American diplomacy can bring about real and meaningful change. Change that makes our country and the world safer and more secure. This deal is also in line with a tradition of American leadership.
Now, unlike Neville Chamberlain, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama, President Trump is refusing to give even an inch when it comes to countering North Korean aggression. Watch this.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire, fury, and frankly power, the likes of which this world has never seen before. If he does anything with respect to Guam or any place else that's an American territory or an American ally, he will truly regret it. Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
Yeah, fury and fire for Rocket Man. And here's something the abusively biased news media will never tell you. Well, since the 1990s, Donald Trump has been warning about the growing threat posed by North Korea. Take a look.
These people in 3 or 4 years are going to be having nuclear weapons. They're going to have those weapons pointed all over the world and specifically at the United States. And wouldn't you be better off solving this really potentially unbelievable, and the biggest problem, I mean, we can talk about the economy, we can talk about social security. The biggest problem this world has is nuclear proliferation. And we have a country out there in North Korea, which is sort of wacko, which is not a bunch of dummies, and they are going out and they are developing nuclear weapons. And they're not doing it because they're having fun doing it. They're doing it for a reason.
And also tonight we have even more proof exposing the media's anti-Trump agenda. Now, according to the new Media Research Center study, 91% of ABC, NBC, CBS's evening newscast coverage about President Trump was negative in January and February. 91%. I've told you back a long time ago, journalism in America is dead. What we have now is a media that is only an extension of the Democratic Party. They regurgitate the talking points. Their singular purpose is to do what? Destroy President Trump at all costs, and the truth be damned, and all of these statistics prove it. Now, in the media's efforts to delegitimize, damage this president, they have all but blacked out any positive news coming from the White House. Just look at today's economic data. February's job numbers smashed expectations. 313,000 new jobs were created. That's the best monthly gain in over a year and a half. And since President Trump took office, 263,000 manufacturing jobs have been created. And a record 155 million Americans are now on the labor force. And here's a statistic the media will never tell you about. According to the Heritage Foundation, 64% of President Trump's agenda is already complete. That's faster than President Ronald Reagan himself, which is astounding. The media doesn't care. Instead, they're only hyper-focused on advancing their bizarre conspiracy theory about Trump-Russia collusion that has no evidence of ever happening. There's no evidence, there's been no evidence. Now, while the media has been literally taking you, the American people, down this conspiratorial rabbit hole for over a year, here's what they've missed. Take a look at the side of the screen. Those are all of President Trump's accomplishments. Have you heard the media ever talk about any of these? I doubt it. The media spent the past year and a half trashing the president at every single turn. They absolutely refuse to give this administration credit for anything. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, nonstop, constant attacks, and a lot of lies. It's unlike anything we've ever seen. And sadly, well, it's only going to get worse. The more successful the president is, the harder the media is going to try to destroy him. All right, joining us now with reaction, former White House press secretary Sean Spicer and former deputy assistant to the president, Fox News national security strategist Dr. Gorka. Sean Spicer, just look at these numbers. 3 million jobs have been created. America now is on a path towards energy independence. He's gotten rid of more regulations than any other administration in record time. His tax cut deal is done. The employer mandate is gone. And lo and behold, Rocket Man's going to sit down with the president. Who would have thunk it?
ISIS is on the run. Border crossings are down. The judiciary is being remade with conservative judges. He's standing up for life. I mean, we could go on and on and on. The president's continuing to rack up results. And one of the things that's interesting, Sean, and you touched on this, but the bottom line is that as he gets results, they try to talk about chaos and process. At the end of the day, most Americans care whether or not their country and their lives are improving. And they are. The president continues to chalk up results. They're making this country a better place. They're making it safer. They're making the economy better, giving more people jobs, higher wages. And what people will vote for at the end of the day is to make their lives, the lives of their family, the lives of their neighbors, and the lives of their fellow citizens better. The president's achieving those results, and I think so what happens is the media then turns and tries to figure out how can we focus on the process story? How can we talk about chaos and things like that, as opposed to the results? The one thing that I think is really interesting, Sean, is that President Trump is doing exactly what he said he would do on the campaign trail. Washington is littered with politicians that make promises over and over again and then don't fulfill them. President Trump's doing exactly what he said he was going to do, and he's getting the results.